Today, we're tackling one of the absolute most frustrating barriers in the fitness world. We're going to dive into the exact science of unlocking maximum muscle growth even when you're completely strapped for time. So, if you feel like your schedule is constantly working against your fitness goals, you are definitely in the right place. Let's get into it.
I want you to really think about this for a second. What if you could maximize your muscle gains in just 13 minutes a day? Seriously, 13 minutes. I know. It sounds like some late-night infomercial, right? But what we're exploring today isn't some gimmick. It's hard, peer-reviewed science, and it is completely paradigm-shifting for busy professionals like us.
Get this. A staggering 80% of adults skip consistent resistance training altogether. And when researchers ask them why, the number one barrier cited over and over again? A perceived lack of time. We all live super busy lives, and that traditional idea of spending 2 hours grinding away in the gym, it just doesn't fit into our schedules.
So here is our roadmap for systematically eliminating that no-time excuse today. Chapter 1 is the minimal effective dose. Chapter 2 is decoding hypertrophy. Chapter 3 covers the superset solution. And finally, Chapter 4 is practical application, where we bring the whole shebang together.
All right, let's kick things off with Chapter 1, the minimal effective dose.
We're looking at some truly groundbreaking research here from Dr. Brad Schoenfeld and his colleagues on how little lifting you actually need to do. They pulled data for a recent review perfectly titled, No Time to Lift. Now, for years, we've known the optimal dose for maximizing muscle hypertrophy is about 10 to 20 sets per muscle per week. But check out the minimal dose, just 4 sets per muscle per week. Dr. Schoenfeld points out that while 10 to 20 sets is great for a bodybuilder stepping on stage, that 4-set minimal dose yields the vast majority of strength and size gains for the general population. You can literally knock this out in 2 or 3 half-hour sessions a week. Crazy, right?
To see how this actually plays out in the real world, researchers looked at resistance-trained men over an 8-week period, and what they found was wild. Just 3 13-minute sessions per week yielded marked increases in strength and endurance. The gains were strikingly similar to groups that had a substantially greater time commitment in the gym. This totally shatters the illusion that you need to practically live in the weight room just to get strong.
Moving right along to Chapter 2, Decoding Muscle Hypertrophy.
To really grasp how this works, we need to unpack the specific biological levers you're pulling. Let's define this word for word. Hypertrophy is the enlargement of skeletal muscle through an increase in the size of its cells, driven primarily by mechanical tension and volume. So basically, we aren't creating new muscle cells, we're just making the existing ones larger. And those two key things at the end there, mechanical tension and volume, those are the exact stimuli your body absolutely needs to trigger this whole adaptation process.
And that brings us to the single most important metric in your training, volume load. Let's look at this word for word too. Volume load is defined as your total sets multiplied by your repetitions multiplied by the weight lifted, and it's the primary driver of muscle hypertrophy. So if you lift 100 pounds for 10 reps across 3 sets, your volume load is 3,000 pounds. This simple mathematical equation is the true scientific key to building muscle size. It's essentially the total amount of work your muscles are forced to do.
To give you a tangible target here, we can rely on the evidence-based guidelines from James Krieger's Volume Bible. For trained lifters, muscle growth tends to peak right around 8 sets per muscle group per session. But hey, if you're a beginner, just 2 to 3 sets per muscle per session is totally sufficient to trigger growth. So again, efficiency is literally built right into our physiology for most people. Now we've got to debunk a massive myth right here. For decades, bodybuilders were told to take really short rests, we're talking like 30 seconds between sets, to spike growth hormone and testosterone. But Dr. Schoenfeld's research shifted this entirely. Think about it. If you squat 200 pounds for 10 reps and you only rest 30 seconds, you might only crank out 5 reps on your next set. Your volume load absolutely plummets. The science now proves that resting longer, around 2 to 3 minutes, allows you to maintain your reps and your weight, preserving that crucial volume load we just talked about. That temporary hormonal spike from short rests actually has a very modest, if any, real effect on muscle growth compared to the total work you put in.
Which perfectly sets us up for Chapter 3, the superset solution. So, if we know we need long rests to maintain our volume load, but we also desperately want to cut down our gym time, how on earth do we solve this puzzle? Well, first, let's establish our baseline, TRAD, or traditional resistance training. Reading this word for word, it's performing multiple sets for the same exercise separated by 60 to 300 seconds of rest. This is what most people picture, right? You do a set of bench press, you sit on your phone scrolling for 3 minutes, and then you do another set. Don't get me wrong, it works, but it takes forever.
Now let's look at our very first time saver, AAPS, or agonist-antagonist paired sets. Word for word, this involves alternating sets of opposing muscles, like your biceps and triceps, separated by 45 to 120 seconds. This is a brilliant workaround, because while your biceps are working hard, your triceps get to rest. You're aggressively driving up what scientists call training density. Basically, you're doing the exact same amount of volume load, but in a fraction of the time.
And taking it even a step further, we have RSS, or reciprocal supersets. To define it word for word, this requires paired agonist and antagonist exercises performed consecutively with minimal rest. We're talking just 10 to 30 seconds, followed by a longer rest period. So you go straight from a chest press right into a seated row. Your chest recovers while your back puts in the work. This intense pairing method slashes your workout duration without sacrificing any of that all-important mechanical tension we defined earlier.
And guys, here is the absolute ultimate proof. In a clinical trial comparing traditional training to total body supersets, where you might pair something like a squat directly with a bench press, the traditional group took 34 minutes to finish their workout. The superset group, they finished the whole thing in exactly 17 minutes, literally half the time. And the results? Both groups significantly and similarly increased their muscle mass, decreased their fat mass, and improved their overall strength. So yes, you can objectively slice your training session in half and get identical results.
All right, let's bring it all home in Chapter 4, Practical Application.
So how do you actually take all this and do it tomorrow morning? Let's connect the physiological science back to your everyday schedule. Here's your actionable 4-step blueprint. Step 1. Choose multi-joint exercises. Think squats, rows, presses. They work multiple muscle groups at once, giving you way more bang for your buck. Step 2. Implement those supersets. Pair opposing muscles so one rests while the other works. Step 3. Adjust your rest appropriately. Make sure you rest enough between the superset blocks themselves so you don't end up compromising your performance. And Step 4. Track your volume load. Just make sure your sets times reps times weight is generally trending up over time.
Now, when we look at the clinical guidelines from the Menge et al. Review on practical applications, there is one crucial warning we need to mention. Supersets create some pretty intense physiological and psychological stress. I mean, your heart rate and blood lactate are going to spike for sure. So the literature strongly advises that less experienced lifters should intentionally modify their volume at first. Drop your total sets down a bit, maybe leave a few more reps in the tank before hitting failure, and definitely take slightly longer rests between the pairings until your body adapts to that crazy metabolic demand. Remember, you absolutely don't have to go to absolute failure just to see gains.
I want to leave you with this really powerful quote straight from the Schoenfeld study abstract. Marked increases in strength and endurance can be attained by resistance-trained individuals with just 3 13-minute weekly sessions. Honestly, it doesn't get clearer than that. You do not need to spend hours in the gym. The minimal effective dose is real, it's proven, and it is incredibly efficient.
Which brings us to our final thought for today. If a lack of time is no longer a valid scientific excuse, what is your next workout going to look like?
If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another science-backed fitness video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.